On Netflix, I caught Spies Like Us from 1985, starring Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. These are two, low-level government employees, get caught cheating on a test, get sent to spy on the Russians. During Cold War, of course. Now, this movie, I think it's directed by John Landis. You may best know him as the father of an ass hat. Actually, this movie's not very good. There are a couple of decent points. And then after that, it's just, really? This is the best we could do? So Chevy Chase is largely unfunny in this. He's, I don't know, he's like the slapstick guy, but I'm not really feeling it here. That doesn't always work for him. He's, I guess you could say, essentially the lead. The main chick in the movie, Donna Dixon, is like his love interest, even though she's married to Dan Aykroyd. They met in '83 working on Dr. Detroit. And she, Chevy Chase gets a little handsy with her. I'm just saying. Can't blame him though. I mean, there's some pretty smoking babes in this. Donna Dixon, of course. Vanessa Angel, from Kingpin and the USA TV series Weird Science. Still kind of catching my breath here after a run rant. But, she looks pretty fine here too. The two best jokes, there's this guy who's giving Dan Aykroyd a hard time. He's got him shoved down this missile silo basement type area. He's like, hey, you decoded this? Oh yeah, it was simple. They were using this blah, 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 blah. I had this big techno-babble spiel. It was funny. Dan Aykroyd, nobody does that style of comedy the way Dan Aykroyd does. Where it's like reading a line of code. Nobody can do that better than Dan Aykroyd, period. Another good spot, well, they had to go to spy school. They're doing government spy training, a lot of as people are running around. I think it's kind of done in jest. There's some good stuff there. The gravity torture, pulled their faces around. You may get a laugh out of that. I actually kind of like the point where they were doing an emergency plane crash. Got into this plane, dropped it from a crane. Hey, okay, here we go, boom. I like that. Well, then they get dropped into Pakistan, I think it was. And, they're goofing around. They meet these two guys, but they find out that they're KGB agents posing as their contacts. Then they pretend to be doctors in an incredibly long and annoying scene of meeting other doctors. Doctor. Hated that. They get to Russia. The action is lame. They have to team up with Donna Dixon, who they thought was a doctor, but she's actually the A team, and they're the decoys on this mission. But they have to team up, take over a missile installment they programmed to strike the U.S. so they could test the Star Wars defense grid. It's amazing how often that Reagan's Star Wars plan shows up in movies. They must have been right on top of that when it came out. But it's stupid. That doesn't work, but they have to, remote scramble the missile. So they take it down by remote. And then at the end of the movie, there's some scene where they're like leaders of the free world or some shit. Comparing this to something like Beverly Hills Cop, where the action's pretty respectable, where not too many characters are a cartoon, but the world feels real enough. In this, it's like everybody's a cartoon. And when everybody's a cartoon, you don't have that dichotomy that makes the jokes work. There's no real straight man here. Maybe Dan Aykroyd to some degree. But I have to give Spies Like Us 2 out of 4 stars.